So welcome everyone to today's webinar where we are going to define your target market. This is really a really great topic, especially for us as new and emerging entrepreneurs, wherever you are on your entrepreneur journey. This is always relevant and something to revisit. So I wanted to first find out, how clear are you on your target market? Are you, one, not clear at all, or somewhat clear, or do you feel like you're crystal clear on your target market and maybe you're just here to get some additional information? I don't know. Just drop that in the chat so that we can see where you are. Okay, great. Let's see what we got here. We've got, okay, I see some middle of the roads. Very cool. Lots of 5s and 6s. Excellent. And some 8s too. Okay, good. So it sounds like most of you have gone along this journey of maybe trying to figure out your target market and, you know, what it looks like and how it's going to be useful for your business. So good. So today we're going to just talk a little bit more about that process. So just to introduce myself, I am Michonne Williams, and I call myself a luxury wine and a lifestyle consultant. My business is wine. My passion is, you know, really training and sharing success principles for, again, your business and your life. And because I share wine, because I follow my passion, you know, I just am all about aliveness and hence a lifestyle consultant. So I will tell you this, first off, I am no expert at this topic of target market. Okay. I am just in this process myself, and I have been doing more, you know, research and practice about this topic. So I'm here to share about that. So that's what we're doing today. It's a couple of resources pulled together to kind of give an overview of the target market process and, you know, how to define it. So we're going to, it's only, you know, an hour or so webinar, so we're not going to get that deep, but we're going to kind of look at what are the elements to start defining your target market and why we would do that. So let's get to that. So it's common knowledge that marketing is the method for attracting new business, and, you know, it's just how you need to communicate who you are and what you do and who you work with. But it's a lesser known that what you need to be successful is to really have a strong target that you can speak to. And so also you can create appropriate marketing materials for, and all of that. So it's also important when you are having just common conversations with people, like, who are you looking for? Who could someone help you find? It's useful when you are looking for referral business as well and asking for the referral. So if you have too broad a target, your message may get lost, right? So sometimes people say, oh, I work with anyone who can pay me, or I work with anyone who has a computer if they're a computer technician, right? But if it's too broad, then people don't know how to work with you or to refer you. So for instance, if you are marketing to, you know, sneaker collectors, right? You're not going to advertise on something like CNBC, which is a totally dry news source, which shows a lot of court reporting and politics, right? You might do instead marketing on a blog or some sort of IG profile or trender or influencer. That might be a better avenue, right? So let's take a look at how to actually get into your specific audience. So we're going to start to narrow down your niche. So how many of you have heard, so target market too, I want to say this, you know, target market has so many different names that I have heard in terms of my journey and figuring out my own target market. It's target market, it's niche, it's, you know, getting to your avatar. Lately, I was interacting with another trainer who called it your perfect client model. So there's all these different phrases that are out there to get you to get, you know, honed in on who your people are. Okay. So we're going to really start to, unpeel that, and whatever you call it is going to be up to you. I think at the very end, when you get really narrow, it is useful to create it as an avatar, which is an actual person that you can imagine using your product or your service, okay? So another thing that's important to recognize is that when you create your target market, you're not isolating or rejecting any other potential clients, right? All you're really doing is finding a way to focus your marketing materials, AKA your communications, to the best people that you can serve, right? That you're really specific on how you serve them and the benefit that your product or service is to them. Okay, so with the clearly defined target market or niche, it's easier to establish how to best market, what you do and how you can help the people that you want to help, right? And also so that they can better understand how you will help them. So here are some questions to get you thinking about your target market. First, what are the defining features of your business products or your services? What are the benefits of these features? How do those benefits affect the consumer or the client? And who do you currently have as a client that buys your products or your services? So these are things to just start thinking about. We're going to do some more digging as we go further, but start thinking about these questions, the answers to these questions. So taking a look at your current customer base is a good way to get started on your path to defining your target market. It's going to give you an idea of, what kind of people are currently interested on what you have to offer. Why do they buy from you? So really start to think about this question and look for patterns, common characteristics, and interest. And when you discover a common thread, it's likely that you might be benefiting from marketing in a similar way to these people. So do these customers have a commonality? An age group, a gender, a location, an income, education? Is there anything that they have in common so far? And if not, that's fine too, because that's just more information for you to use as you start to determine your target market. So it's a good idea to take a closer look at your product and service and start to detail the benefits of what you offer. This is a good way to get clear on who you might serve, who might benefit from what you have, right? So start by making a list of the features of your product or your service. Then next to each feature, write down what that benefit is. So what's the good stuff? What's the juicy part, okay, that they get from that feature? So once you have this list, you're going to make notes on what type of customer you think would need or desire your product or service based on that benefit. So this list is going to be very useful for you when you begin to get into more of the specifics of defining your target market, like those demographics, okay? So I just want to give you an example from, my business. So one of the things that I offer as a wine consultant is a wine membership program that we call the Wine Society. So here are some features, which are, the savings that you can customize, that it's, a quarterly delivery. It's, you get these complimentary tastings and special event invitations, and there's a guarantee, right? So in the next column, you can see what are those benefits, right? So what could these features do for someone? How could these features help someone? How could these features be desirable for my potential target market? So we're going to take about 2 minutes here, and I'm going to give you just short times. I know this is not necessarily to complete the exercise, but for you to get started. And go ahead and write down, if you can first start to think about what's your product and what's your service. So for my business, for example, I have several products and services that I offer as a wine consultant. I do wine tastings, which is a service. I do the wine membership, which is here as a product. I also offer the opportunity to become a wine ambassador, which is another, let's call it a product, okay? So I might have different target markets for each of those. So for you, what would your product and or service be? And start to list those features and the benefits for those. So another thing you can do to start to tease away, some of the fluff around, who you are really speaking to as your target market is to also look at your competition. If you offer a product or service similar to something already in the market, like most of us do, right? You want to do some research on, what's already out there to give you some insight on, who that company is speaking to, who are their current customers, who is that company's target based on how they are marketing to that target or how they are branding certain products or services. Also, you might want to take a peek at what kind of customer feedback is that company getting, kind of do some searching on Yelp or Google reviews to see, what people are saying, whether they're liking something or not. That could be useful for you. And also the pricing. Are they competitive with you? Are they comparable? Like, where are they falling, with their pricing compared to your pricing? So you just want to find a niche that they are possibly, one, overlooking, or two, maybe if you have a similar or same niche, but can you speak to those people in a different way, from a different vantage point, so that you are speaking to a different result that niche needs or wants, okay? Your objective is to really, set yourself apart. And the best way really to do that is just to be yourself and speak to what that client is looking for. So for example, with our wine club, which we call the Wine Society, one of the things that sets the Wine Society apart from other wine clubs out there is that it's fully customizable. For a lot of other clubs out there, you're not going to be able to customize what you get. It's only what the winery sends. So that, to me, is an added benefit. So let's start to get a little deeper. And so once you have established who might benefit from your product or service the most, you want to start to look at the demographics, right? Which are more of the statistical information about your potential client. So you'll want to look at the age, location, gender, are they married or single, divorced, education level, income level, what's their occupation, perhaps their ethnic background. So I saw a lot of you in the comments when you were looking at your current clients, you were starting to actually gather some of this demographic information. So maybe right now, take a moment to compile some of that and start to look at, who for your target market, whether currently or maybe it's a target market you're aspiring to get into, write down some of this demographic information you think you want to hit. Like, again, age, location, gender, marital status, education, income, those kind of pieces. I'm going to give you about 1 minute to do that. Yes.
Hey, Michonne. Something else that that's interesting too around demographics, like almost taking it another step further, is looking at what they call psychographics, which is also about what they like to do. So for example, when you like, if you identify, for example, that, your demographic is, 50-year-old women who have a master's degree, then another thing to look at is what do those type of women like to do? What are some lifestyle dynamics of them that can also help when you're trying to, never mind.
No, I love it. No, I love it. No, it's good to hear, from your voice, because, you have a lot of experience in sales and business and, absolutely, right? So that is the other piece to consider, which is the psychographics. And exactly what Michelle was speaking to, what do they like to do? What's their personality? What's their values like? What are their attitudes? What do they appreciate? What are their hobbies? So once you have those demographics down, go ahead and take some time to imagine what the psychographics could be. And again, some of those areas might be, what are their values? What are their interests? What are their hobbies? What do they do on the weekend? What do they do when they come home from work? How do they relax? How do they, pursue their interests? What are their favorite programs? Between the demographics and the psychographics, we're trying to get as specific as possible. In this current age of social media, and all of the platforms that we have. You've got big business and little business, all trying to go for new customers and new eyes and new attention. So the trend right now is to really niche down. And so all of this is going to really, help with how you communicate, how you interact, how you ask for business, how you market online, how you do your social media, what do you post, which groups on Facebook are you going to interact with or spend more of your time in? So all of that is going to stem from having a real clear understanding and picture of your target market.
Hey, Michonne.
Yes.
One thing that I find kind of interesting with some of my clients is that they like the aspect of giving back. So when we have wines that have a give back component, either we're donating funds or we're contributing to homelessness or the sommeliers who aren't working. Just bringing that up and highlighting that, I find helps me to generate more sales, even because that's part of the psychographic nature of there, right?
Right.
Yeah, and tapping into that can actually be very helpful in your business.
I really love that, because you're right. That's a psychographic quality, right? So it's like attracting people who like to contribute, attracting people who like to make a difference or, have a give back. So that's a kind of group that, you're attracting or you are working with or you are aspiring to work with or do more work with. So that's really insightful. Okay. So this is something I found as an interesting piece as I was narrowing down my niche, is that I came up with the question, well, is this just me? Like, am I just describing myself? Like, I just kind of felt like a little like, is this my target market, or am I just talking about me and what I want, So it's interesting to get this perspective of, putting yourself in that person's shoes, in your target market's shoes, like what, and thinking about your business and what you can do from their perspective. And if you're solving a particular issue as well, you might have resolved that issue. So maybe you're not currently in their shoes now, but you were, right? So you might have been looking for, maybe you were looking for a new career. Maybe you were looking for, some additional savings with a particular, product or service, and then you found it. So kind of start to think from, your prospects' point of view. So to develop your target market really carefully, you want to see your ideal customer from their perspective in relation to your product or your service. So start to visualize yourself as this person and ask yourself these questions. What do I like to do? What do I want? What do I like best about this product or service? So as your niche person, your avatar, answer those questions from that point of view. What do I like to do? What do I want? And what do I like best about this product or service? So what would they say to you if they were speaking to you from that perspective? And allow yourself to just, create a picture in your mind about what this would look like. How would they be using your product or service? When would they use it the most? When would they most enjoy it? Who would they be using this product or service with? So start to create those pictures in your mind so you can better speak to your target market from that place, right? So when you're in conversation with them, you can start to create these pictures of like, oh yeah, I can see you, drinking this bottle of wine on the beach, this bottle of rosé wine on the beach, with your girlfriends in Palm Springs at the pool, something like that could be kind of fun. And when you take a look from the perspective, so also when you take a look from the perspective of your prospective customer, you can get a closer idea of what their needs are as well. You know, you might start to fill in gaps to what you might have thought they needed before, but when you actually put yourself in the picture, you can see more of what could be needed, wanted, or desired. Now, if you can't visualize this person, then you're probably not yet at the place of really truly defining your target market. And what you'll want to do is to keep playing around in those questions about the demographic and the psychographic until you can really start to visualize the person, okay? Okay, so there's some other things you can do if you want to go outside of yourself to gather more information about your target market. You can do a survey. If you already have customers or clients, you know, you can do a simple, quick, you know, fast survey to get their thoughts and opinions on, you know, why do they work with you? Why do they enjoy the product? You know, what do they enjoy most? That's going to give you, you know, really an outside perspective on what people really do appreciate. So that's very useful. So you don't have to rely on what you're making up. You can also conduct interviews, you know, with your current clients or your ideal client. If that person's not already your customer or client, right? You can call someone up who fits that, you know, those demographics or the psychographics that you came up with and ask some questions. What would you like about, you know, this service I provide? What would you like about, you know, this particular product that I have, you know, or what do you need? So conducting interviews is another way to get more specific information and more outside accurate information. Now, if you're still having trouble, you could take a little bit of a funnel method approach to coming up with your target market. It's kind of like a multi-stage approach so that you're kind of just looking at one. It's kind of like a process of elimination in some ways. So for example, you know, you might choose to funnel information based on gender. If you have a more of a gender-based product, like, okay, this is really just for women. I'm going to focus on women. Okay, great. So now you know that. And so then after that, the next funnel might be age and thinking if this product is better for a certain age group. Well, I know for sure my product is going to be over 21, right? So the product after age, you might look at an income bracket depending on, you know, how much your product or service costs. You know, the difference between a $10 wine and some of the wines that, you know, we offer at, you know, $35, $50, $100 plus, you know, there might be a different income bracket that I might work with. So as you continue to funnel, you'll eventually arrive at a focused target market for your product or your service. So then you want to go ahead and start to put your findings together and, you know, kind of ask some qualifying questions like, is this market in alignment with your long-term vision? Is it desirable? Is this the group of people you want to work with? Can you roll out, you know, or execute a marketing campaign or communications to fit this particular market? Are they unique? Are they unique to you? And does it give you enough room to evolve? So if you're like, for example, I have several products or services. Well, if I want to add something onto that, will this target market allow me to evolve and add, or will I be doing this process all over again? For me, there's definitely some crossovers, so not a problem there. So then you want to evaluate your decision on your target market based on a few other criteria. So sometimes people worry, you know, again, if I do this target market, am I eliminating other people? And as I mentioned before, no, you're not. You're just honing in on a specific group of people so that you can speak more clearly to them. At the same time, you want to ask yourself, are there enough people in this market to fit my criteria? Are there going to be enough people over the long term to fit my growth and what I want to serve and who I want to serve? Will my target have a need for my product or service? So if you're in an industry and you're just wondering, you know, I've got an idea, you want to kind of first ask, well, will these people need my idea or my product or my service? Do I understand what drives my target to make decisions? Also, can my target afford my product or my service? And do I know how to reach my target? Okay, so those are just some questions to ask yourself as you start to, again, niche down and come up with a specific group. Are there enough people? Will my target have a need for my product or service? Do I understand what drives my target to make decisions? Can my target afford what I offer? And do I know how to reach my target? So you may find that the niche you had in mind doesn't fulfill one of the above criteria, which means it may not take you where you want to go, but I think that this is just a guideline to kind of make sure you're going to be able to go as far as you want to go with your particular group. In my business, you know, so it's a direct sales business, and we have the opportunity to offer the business to people. And in network marketing and direct sales, they often say that it's a business for everyone. My perspective is that it is absolutely a business for everyone, but everyone is not especially for you. So I think it's always useful to still have in mind, even in an industry or a business or a product or service that can be for everyone, having the clearest idea of how you want to work with a particular group of people or people, it's going to serve both parties the best. So once you've got your target market, you want to think about having focused marketing. So it's important to get clear on the difference between you and who you are and what you offer and what your market actually wants and what's going to speak to them. So as you start to work with your target market, thinking about what kind of marketing is going to speak to them and where. So again, the difference between maybe marketing on LinkedIn versus TikTok, for example, or the difference between marketing in a catalog or newsprint paper versus taking out ads on Google, for example. So thinking about the where and the what of your marketing when you're thinking about how to speak to and reach your target market. So we're going to do a quick little exercise here based on just whatever you have so far. Just another piece to keep in mind is that target markets are often evolving, especially at the beginning of your entrepreneur journey, for example. And I probably in this session don't have that target market or your niche 100% down because this is a short session. For those of you who are a little bit more advanced and have been doing this for a while, for you, yes, you may have gotten it down, but for others, if you're still working on this, no problem. This is meant to be just to get you started in a guideline. As I said for myself, this is something I've been recently working on and just starting to get it tight for myself. But you do want to get clear on your message. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a formula so that you can come up with your sentence of how you help people, okay? Because again, this is going to be important with, the kind of content that you create for your social media. It's going to be important for, how you speak in your emails and your cold calls and your requests for referrals. So you're just going to be clear about that. So here's one suggested sentence structure is to, I should put this on the slide here. And I did, I apologize, I meant to do that. So here's one sample sentence structure is to insert your brand name, your company name, or you, if you are your brand or your company, and then followed by a word such as creates, provides, or offers, whatever your benefit is, your product is, to help and inform whatever your demographic is, so they can action word better, do that better. Let me see if I can. But you know what I'll do? I'll put it in the chat for everyone, okay? Okay, so this is just kind of a sample sentence structure to use when you're kind of starting to formulate what you do for your specific target market. So the example I've been using for this presentation is the wine club or the wine society that I offer. So the sentence I came up with is Vino V, which is my brand. That's how I offer my wine services and products. Vino V provides a fully customizable and personal wine membership program for wine lovers who value exclusive California and French wines so they can relax and enjoy without ever sacrificing quality over convenience. So that's my example, and I'll put that in the chat as well. So I'm going to give you a moment right now to do that work for yourself, thinking about your target market, thinking about, your niche that you've started to formulate, and, try putting it in that sentence so that you have, you kind of have it clear for yourself and a way to communicate what you do the best. So hopefully this is going to give you a little something more specific to work with. You've done, some thinking now about your target market and who your niche is, your avatar, or, whatever you want to call it. You've given that some thought. You start to hone in. You start to draft it. And so now you can really start to think about how you want to market, what pieces of marketing you need, where you want to market, and what your message will be. Really important.
Michon, the message just goes in your, does it go next to your brand, or where would you insert this particular?
That's a really great question. Thank you for asking that. So that particular message, in my understanding and how I would use it, is for you. It's for your information. It's not necessarily something, you could use it as something, let's say if you had a website where you want to put it in, your about section or somewhere to describe who you serve. However, I would, use this mainly for my own information so that I know, who am I talking to, so that I am informed on, how I want to speak to people if I'm at a networking group, or when I am creating certain marketing materials, especially in my social media, for example. So if I know that I'm speaking to wine lovers who value exclusive California and French wines, well, I'm not going to be posting about Italian wines or Spanish wines, you know what I mean? Or I might want to focus on, the customization, right? I see that as a really key benefit. So I might do things or say things in my emails or in my marketing, in my social media posts that talk about, how you can really make this personal to yourself. It's all about what you like, what you want. No one else is going to determine that for you. This wine society is all about you, and you can have it the way you want it, so it's more for that purpose. However, I think that if you can use that message, I think either to hone in on a particular tagline, if you want to say that, or, or if however you crafted this, you feel like it's really solid and you want to use it as part of who you are and who you serve, and you want to post it somewhere, I think that's fine too. I'm just sharing with you how I see it being used. But I think if you feel like it's crafted in a way that you'd want to share it, then you're welcome to do that too. There's no solid rule on that. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, thank you, Michon.
Okay, great. So last piece here is speaking about, how to use this in your messaging and communicating. You want to learn also from how you're using this message. So is it working for you? Do you feel like you're getting some more response the more that you've honed in or niched down on your messaging? I was listening to a trainer just the other day who suggested that, again, speaking of this whole new world of really getting really specific, just to do all your social media on for that one target market and that one result. Do you know what I mean? And then do that for 30 days on your social media. for example, for her example, it was ADHD entrepreneurs, business owners who I think wanted to have more focus, something like that. And she was like, I'm just gonna speak to those people. Even though I got all these other business owners who, you know, want my knowledge and what I offer, I'm just gonna speak to those ADHD people who are looking to have more focus, you know? So that's how far to go. And she said her social media account blew up, something like another, I don't know, I can't remember the percentage points, but she said it really blew up, and another 90,000 people started following her. So it's important to see, does this work? You know, does your messaging make a difference? Are you, you know, tracking to see, are you getting more responses? Are more people able to refer you? That's another thing, you know, when I'm thinking about the referral business, a lot of times we ask for a referral. Is there someone you can refer me to, or someone who would like what I do, or my product, someone that you can think of? Well, that's really broad for people. But if you get really niche down and get really specific, are you getting more referrals? That's another way you can start to track and see if it's making a difference. And again, are more people sharing your social media posts, or, you know, interacting with you? That could be another area that you could see where you're tracking and if it's making sense or not. And if it's not, if you're not seeing any difference, I mean, stick with it if it feels right to you, and then maybe tweak if you see that there's an area to tweak, or maybe you need to broaden, maybe you need to get more specific. So you'll have to do that work to figure that out. Okay. Cool. All right, so.
Tora's raising her hand.
Oh, I don't see people. So Tora, yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to share something that you said earlier, and I think it's super important. I just wanted to, you know, as a psychologist who has studied consumer behavior for most of my career, I just wanted to say that I really think it's what you said about the psychographics, and just I wanted to kind of reiterate that, and how psychographics is actually can be even more important than the demographics. And you talked about, like, so demographics is income, right? When you think about psychographics, which is just simply basically beliefs, values, attitudes, and behaviors, right? And so if someone is aspirational, right? So if someone's in a space of being aspirational, but they're demographically, their income doesn't match, they still could possibly be your client. So as you're focusing on, because if you're focusing on income, you might dismiss them, right? But if you're focusing on, like I said, aspiration, so like you see the person who, so the person who, you know, just recently graduated from college and probably is like, you know, has an administrative position. So, you know, she's not making a ton of money, but whenever you see her, like, you know, she's flawless and she's got like a really, you know, a nice handbag, maybe, you know, Louis Vuitton or Gucci handbag, and she's always got like nice shoes on, and she's aspirational. So she could possibly be your client, right? Because she's like, I'm moving into this direction. So she may not be your regular all the time client, maybe, or maybe she will, right? Because because she could be aspirational, right? As opposed to demographically where she is. Like if you were to look at income level, you'd be like, no, she's not. But looking psychographically at her, she may absolutely be your client. So I just think that really looking at the psychographics can really be important. So
I love that. That is so important. And thank you for bringing that up, because that's a whole nother like cut at it, you know, like to think about like how they go together. So, you know, not necessarily allowing something to cancel out, but look at how the pieces go together to give you a broader, you know, I guess, pathway to know, okay, should I approach that person? Should I not? Or could they be? So thank you so much. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
Nishan too, and Tora, totally on point. I agree with you there. I just spawned something in my thought. For lay people, some of us are lay people who don't have a lot of access to psychographic data. What is the best way to get that? Because I know I worked at Coca-Cola and I had access to all kinds of psychographic data, right? For my target market. Yes. I don't have that right now. So if you determine, if you determine that, okay, this is my target market, then what are some, do you know, and Tora, you might know what some resources that you can tap into to get more, to try to tap into what some of the psychographics could be?
I'm going to say the easiest, cheapest, best one is called social media, because everybody puts on so when you look at people's social media, you can see their beliefs, you can see their values, you can see their attitudes and behaviors. And when you do Facebook, like if you are going to do like ads, you can even search and target your groups based on those beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. So then when you start seeing the people who are popping up, then you start looking like, who are they friends with? And you can go down a whole rabbit hole.
Validates it.
But it's a nice, easy, inexpensive way to find that.
That's great.
To add on to that, that's a great point, Tora. Yes, is like the hashtag search. You know what I mean? That will start pulling up, the people like that, or what are they doing? So that was great, Tora. Thank you for that. That's a great resource, actually. And also, just to let everyone know, as attendees for this webinar, I will be emailing you a list of resources just on target market, how to some steps on distinguishing your target market. So there's another link in there for Google Trends, using Google Trends to look at some areas there. Okay, so you will get resources from me after this webinar. So let's see. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I really appreciate your attention, your time, and just hanging out here to dive into a subject that I am new at. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not expert at target market, but I have been exploring it for myself and my multiple businesses and interests as a wine consultant and also as a trainer in the Success Principles. So if you would love to see you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can just search Vino V TV and I'll pop up. Thank you, Scott, for being a subscriber. Vino V The Wine Life on Instagram. And if you are interested in finding out more about what it looks like to be a wine consultant or a wine ambassador, you can go to our private Facebook group, facebook.com groups, and look up Wine Career and you will find us there. So thank you, and I'll see you all next month on the third Tuesday of the month.
Thank you, Michonne. That was great.
Thank you.